Bonjour, I'm Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France, and this is a lesson on French subject pronouns. This is the very first thing you need to learn when you tackle French grammar. I'll explain what subject pronouns are, how to use them, and how they're different to English subject pronouns. And at the end of this lesson, I'll give you a quiz. You may at this point want to look down in the video description and click on the link that you see there, which will bring you to a complete lesson on French subject pronouns. Allez, c'est parti! Sometimes before I begin a grammar lesson, I like to first explain what I'm going to teach you in English so that you have a frame of reference. So when I say subject pronoun, all I'm talking about is how to say I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. So to begin with, je is how you say I in French. Repeat after me. Je. Je. Très bien. Now, tu is the informal way to say you, and it's always singular. So repeat after me. Tu. Tu. In French, there are two ways to say you, and I'll show you the other way in just a minute. Since tu is informal, that means you would use it with friends and family or children. Use tu with people you know very well, but never with groups of people, even if you do know them very well. Il is how to say he in French. All you have to do is replace a person's name with il. Repeat after me. Il. Il. Now, il also can mean it. And here's where you have to pay close attention because many times people say, well, Jennifer, how do you say it in French? It's just not that simple. I'm sorry, but the reason why is because in French, all nouns, all things have a gender. Maybe you've learned that so far. You know that everything is either masculine or feminine. So when you want to say it, you actually need to know the gender of the thing that you're talking about. I'll show you some examples in a little while, but you say il to mean it when you're referring to a masculine and singular noun. Elle means she. All you have to do is replace a person's name with elle. Repeat after me. Elle. Elle. And just like il, elle also can mean it when referring to a feminine noun that is singular. Now let's just take a moment to talk about on. On is a very useful subject pronoun because it can mean a few different things. On can mean one in the general sense. And what I mean by that is when you say something like, when one is hungry, one eats. Okay, not a lot of people talk like that in English or in French. But here's the really important thing you need to know about on, and it's something you don't always find in the grammar books. On can also mean we. W-E, we, not O-U-I, we. That's funny, isn't it? Because on is always on the singular side of the conjugation chart, but it can mean plural we. And guess what? It very often does in informal spoken French. Now, nous is another way to say we in French. Nous does mean we. Though on is used a lot, nous is as well. Now, when you're writing, you should choose to use nous when you want to say we. It's a little bit more formal. Vous. A little while ago when we were talking about tu, which means informal you, I told you there was another way to say vous, to say you, and that is vous. So vous is the formal way to say you when it is singular. And it's the plural form of you in any situation. Remember a little while ago I told you even if you're speaking to a group of people you know very well, you can't use tu with them because tu is always singular. You would use vous with them. So the vous in French, when you're using it the plural way, is kind of like when you say you guys or y'all if you're from the South like I am. Okay, so that's your vous. Vous is used with groups of people, whether you know them well or not, and you use vous with a person you don't know very well, or you might know them very well, but you have a formal sort of relationship with them. Okay, il. Now, il is how to say they when the group is either all masculine or when it's a mixed group. So repeat after me. Il. Il. You'll notice that I don't pronounce the S on there. It is always silent unless it's followed by a vowel. Now, il means they, and it can refer to either people or things, right? A little while ago, we said that you can use il, singular il, to mean it when you're referring to a masculine singular thing. You can use ils, il, when you are referring to masculine plural things or a group of things that are both masculine and feminine. Elle is how to say they when the group is all feminine. Okay, so repeat after me. Elle. Elle. There also, the S on the end of that word is silent. Now, elle can also refer to either people or things. It refers to people when it's an all-feminine group. It refers to things when all of the things are feminine objects. D'accord? Okay, so now I promised some examples. I'm going to go in and show you those. Let's start over again with je. So, je always means I. D'accord? Always means I. Now, pay attention to this, though, because when you want to say, for example, Jennifer and I, the je does change to moi. Moi. Okay, so you don't have the thing in French where you have to choose between Jennifer and I and Jennifer and me. It's always Jennifer et moi. D'accord? Okay, so here's an example for you. Je suis en France. Je suis en France means I am in France. Jennifer et moi sommes en France. Jennifer et moi sommes en France. Jennifer and I are in France. Now, tu. Remember, tu always means you, and it can be used with a friend, a child, a family member, or someone you're very informal with. Here's your example. Tu es en France. Tu es en France. You are in France. Il, remember, can mean he. So in our example, Jean est en France. Jean est en France means John is in France. If I want to say he is in France, I just replace Jean with il. Il est en France. Il est en France. Remember that il can mean it when we are referring to a masculine singular object, like le stylo. For example, le stylo means the pen, and you notice it is masculine. That's why it says le, L-E, in front of it. Le stylo est sur la table. Le stylo est sur la table. So if I want to say it is on the table, I replace le stylo with il. Il est sur la table. Il est sur la table. Now, elle can mean she. For example, Julie est en France. Julie est en France means Julie is in France, right? I can replace Julie with elle to mean she is in France. Elle est en France. Elle est en France. Just like il, elle can mean it. La tasse means the cup, and you'll notice it's a feminine singular word. You know that because la, L-A, means the, when the word that follows it is feminine and singular. La tasse est sur la table. La tasse est sur la table. The cup is on the table. So if I want to say it is on the table, I replace la tasse with elle. Elle est sur la table. Elle est sur la table. On. So recall that I told you on can mean one in that real general sense. Here's an example like that. On parle français en France. On parle français en France. One speaks French in France. But watch this. On can also mean we. On parle français en France. On parle français en France. We speak French in France. And on can mean they. Haha, I didn't mention this before. On can mean they, but watch how it can mean they. On parle français en France. It's still a very general they. It means they speak French in France. You would use on to mean they when you say something in English like, oh, they say not to go outside with a wet head. You'll get a cold. Well, who are they anyway? We don't really know who they are. Well, that's when you use on to mean they in French, when you really are being very, very vague about who they actually are. Nous always means we. So that's a safe bet. Nous always means we. Nous sommes en France. Nous sommes en France means we are in France. And by the way, all of the examples that I'm using with you, I'm just using the verb être, which means to be. And just to keep things simple, I'm using the same example time after time. Okay? Vous always means you. And remember that it can be used with groups of people, someone you don't know well, or someone you have a formal relationship with. Vous does always mean you. Vous êtes en France. Vous êtes en France means you are in France, plural or formal. So when I say vous êtes en France, I could be talking to one person on a formal basis, or I could be talking to a group of my friends. D'accord? Il. Remember, I don't pronounce the S on il. Il always means they. For example, Jean et Marc sont en France. Jean et Marc sont en France means they are in France. John and Mark are in France. Ils sont en France. Jean et Julie sont en France. Jean et Julie sont en France. Now there I have Jean and Julie, mixed group. I still use ils to replace Jean et Julie. Okay? Ils sont en France. They are in France. So we use ils for a masculine or for a mixed group. Now remember, ils always means they, but the word they can refer to objects. For example, le stylo et le verre. Those are two masculine objects. The pen, le stylo, and the glass, le verre, sont sur la table. So if I want to replace le stylo et le verre, I can do so with the subject pronoun ils. Ils sont sur la table. Ils sont sur la table. They are on the table. I can use ils, again, for objects, if we have either a masculine, all masculine, or a mixed group. Now, the example using elle, we have to recall that elle always means they, but elle has to be an all-feminine group. So if I say Julie et Jennifer, that's two women, right? Julie et Jennifer sont en France. And I want to say they are in France. I replace Julie et Jennifer with elles. Elles sont en France. And finally, elles always means they, but just like ils, they can be objects. Both of the objects, or all of the objects, must all be feminine if you're going to use elles. For example, l'assiette, which means the plate, and la tasse, which means the cup, are two feminine words. L'assiette et la tasse sont sur la table. So, the plate and the cup are on the table. If I want to say they are on the table, I say elles sont sur la table. Elles sont sur la table. Très bien. So, are you ready for a quiz? I think you can probably do well on this. Let's go. Allez, c'est parti. Comment dit-on I en français? Now, when I say comment dit-on, that means how do you say? comment dit-on I en français, in French? Do you know? Je. If you said je, très bien, bravo, vous avez la bonne réponse. Comment dit-on you if you are speaking to a group of children? Think about that, a group of children. Comment dit-on you? Eh oui, c'est ça, on dit vous. Vous. Très bien. Alors, comment dit-on oui en français? Tricky, tricky. Comment dit-on oui? You had to give both of these answers. If you only said one, then that's fine. I'll say you still get a bravo, but remember that we can be either nous or on. Nous is a bit more formal, and on tends to be used a lot in informal spoken French. Allez, comment dit-on you if you are talking to your teacher? Okay, sometimes you're really informal with teachers, but let's imagine you've got a really, really strict formal teacher. Or, you know, kids in France always use vous with their teachers once they get to collège or high school, right? Collège, by the way, is middle school in French. Allez, so how would you say you talking to your teacher? Vous, très bien, bravo. Alors, comment dit-on you if you're talking to your friend? You know this one, that's right, it's tu. But can you say it right? Tu. You really have to stick out your lips when you say tu. I don't want to hear you saying tu. It's not tu, it's tu. And we don't have that U sound in English. So be careful. Here's how you can do it. Say the letter E in English. E. And then stick your lips way out and pronounce the letter E with your lips out. U. U. That's the sound we're looking for. Tu. Okay? Bien. Comment dit-on they if you are referring to a bunch of flowers? Now here's the tricky part, right? Because you have to know how to say flower and you have to know if it's masculine or feminine. So if you said elle, bravo, très bien. If you said il, well then just chalk it up to experience and now you know that fleur, the word for flower, is feminine. Une fleur. La fleur. Alors, comment dit-on they if you were referring to a man and a woman? Il. Il, that's right. Mixed group is always il. Comment dit-on they if you are referring to a group of girls? You say elle. Elle. Très bien. Comment dit-on they if you are referring to a pen and a notebook? Again, are they masculine or are they feminine? A pen and a notebook. Un stylo, a pen. Un cahier, a notebook. They both happen to be masculine. We say il to mean they. Comment dit-on she en français? Elle. Elle. Bravo, très bien. Comment dit-on he en français? Il. Oui, c'est ça. Très bien. Il. So how do you say, comment dit-on it when referring to one masculine object? That's right, we say il. Il. Comment dit-on it when referring to one feminine object? We say elle. Très bien, super. Okay, comment dit-on you when referring to both of your parents? Vous. Vous, that's right, because even though you know your parents very well, you have an informal relationship with family members, usually, there's still two of them. So you have to say vous. Now, what's the informal way to say we? And this is the last one. The informal, spoken way to say we is on. On. Très bien. So even though it looks like the word on in English, we're going to pronounce it on. Super, très bien. Je suis très fière de vous. I'm very proud of you. Now, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Whether you're teaching yourself French or learning at school and need a little extra help, I put out new videos every single week. Also, check the links in the video description below to see all of the ways that you can connect with and support Love Learning Languages. Merci beaucoup et à très bientôt. Au revoir.